Welcome back to As Promised. I have a confession. I said I was going on a digital detox, which in parts was true, was mostly a lie. I went to a meditation retreat in Suffolk. Uh, I called it a digital detox because number one, I didn't want people to think that Ronks is taking this meditation thing way too seriously because I guess I still wanted to protect some kind of image or idea that I had of myself. But also, I don't really fully research things before I ever dive into them. And what I really understood about this course was I was going to be away from my phone and all my devices. So technically, I actually went into it believing it was a digital detox. I did not comprehend what I was diving into head first, head, feet, body, and mind first, um, until I was there. But also, that's something that I do on purpose. I can't lie. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to see. I want to get the experience for what it is, as opposed to doing research. But I don't actually advise people to do that. It's a shock to the system. I don't agree that that is the best way to dive into things like this meditation retreat. You know me, I love a disclaimer. I've always got to let people know that this is entirely from what I perceive as my perspective and my reality. This journey that I went on is perception from how I experienced it and what I experienced of it. I love to be a student of life. I love learning. I guess with this podcast, I'm learning out loud with the listeners, you guys. I've done my Google definitions of these important words that we won't need right now, but we will need in the rest of this episode. The first word is yearning. Definition of yearning: a feeling of intense longing for something, a strong feeling of wishing for something, especially something you cannot have or get easily. That's yearning, yeah? Remember that. Second one, aversion. And a strong dislike or disinclination, opposition, repugnance, or anti-apathy. I think that's how you say it. So aversion is something you don't like strongly. Okay. And the third word I want us to define is attachment, which is an extra part or extension that is or may be attached to something to perform a particular function. I went deeper into that one because I was like, what is attachment? It says a feeling that binds one to a person, thing, cause, ideal, a devotion or regard. So those are the three words I want us to remember as we go on this episode journey. Like, trust me, this journey was wild ride, roller coaster ride. So sit tight. Yeah, I'm gonna let you know about the Vipassana meditation retreat that I went on in Suffolk, UK, no phones. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me let you know the details of this retreat. It's a silent retreat, no phones, no contact with the outside world. And one of the biggest challenges for me, or one where the aversion, the strong dislike for me, was that you couldn't take notes. There was no writing material. So literally, you were having to go off what the hippocampus, if you've been listening to the Super Brain episodes, you know what I'm talking about. But you had to go off what you had and could remember. That was frustrating. But anyway, we'll get into it. Sit back, make yourself a cup of tea.
Is to take a cup of tea. For me, just have a cup of tea to clear your nerves, to keep you motivated for the day, to keep you going, to move you so that you will move ahead without minding what people are saying. just taking a cup of tea.
having gone to bed every night for the last 10 days at 9:30, quarter to 10 ish. So I didn't actually think I was going to wake up at 4, but I did. And then I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, I thought it's probably 9 a.m. It was 4:21 a.m. So I was like, you know what? Let's continue. Let's keep pushing and see what the body and the brain wants to do. So I went into meditation. No expectations. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit for the hour, but I'm not even going to like um what's the word, be apprehensive about it or even try and like attempt it. In fact, I'm just going to set a timer, go into the meditation and see what happens. And when my legs felt like they were about to bun off, don't worry, I'll explain that. That's coming incoming as well, the bunning off of body parts. I opened my eyes. I said to myself, "You sat well. All is good. This is changing. All the stuff." And I only had 30 seconds of the hour left, and I thought, "Raw, for real." When you train the brain, or when you train, if you engage in a learning process, you teach yourself things. You teach your body things. So, even though this podcast might sound like I'm saying don't go to that place, I can't lie. I definitely feel like I'm better to have gone. I'm better for it. This is the second time in my life that I've worked with someone in the creative world, and they've been like, "Oh, Ronks, you should go on this spiritual journey, or you should take part in this type of thing." The first one was with a director, and I went to a place in North London for only 2 days, but it was called I Evolve. And that was not for me because I then learned in hindsight that the director I had worked with had paid for it on my behalf, which I felt really sheepish about. Um, and it was also full of really rich people that were unhappy, and I was not rich. um I was not rich. So when they were standing up complaining about their life experiences, I was definitely side eyeing them, because I was like, but you can go and cry in Jamaica, or you can go and cry in the Cayman Islands. You can go and cry in a jacuzzi, hot tub. Why are you making noise here? It's also really interesting because this is the second time that at the end of the retreat or the experience, a black woman always pops up, but that's for a whole nother gist. That's for a whole nother day. So this second time I have worked with an actor. I don't know if he's going to listen to this. He's not listened to any of my other episodes, as he's told me. So maybe not. I can bitch about him. Listen, when I was in this place, I could have sworn this guy hated my guts. When I was in this meditation retreat, I said, this man does not like me at all. Because why would he send me here to suffer? And also, I genuinely believe, like, I am of the belief that everybody should do exactly that which is that they want to do. Obviously, apart from like killing and that, like killing other human beings, that's a bit mad. You don't have to be doing stuff like that. But like in terms of your individual journey, your personal journey, what you believe, like duality, learning, experience, like if you want to not know stuff, that's also okay. If you do want to know stuff, then there should be resources in order for you to gain your own experience, your own understanding, and whatever it is in the process. Because I do also believe that everybody's journey is extremely unique to them. It's all from a very unique perspective. And that's one of the things that I found challenging about this course, was that they said it was universal, or it could be accessed by all. But I was like, it's actually inaccessible by all, because we don't all have the same perception of reality. We also don't have the same um access to like movement and being able to sit still. Don't worry, I'll get to all of these parts. And understanding of big words, little words, like just I was like, saying something is universal is advantageous, because how the only thing that we can really claim is universal is that we have hearts that beat. But I guess I'm sure there's somewhere in science where somebody is probably living without a heart, right? Anyway, that's a tangent. So um my own, like I said, my belief is I believe everybody should be able to do that, exactly that which is they want to do, in order for their growth, progression, whatever, evolution, healing, everything like that. One of the things that I like doing, obviously, as I've proven to myself, this being the second time that I've gone on an experience that somebody else has suggested for me to do, is I like to throw myself in the deep end. I like to throw myself in the deep end, and I like to do experiences that I actually don't know anything about. Let me explain to you my first moment where I was like, "Oh, damn, what the fuck have I got myself into?"
Let me introduce you to the timetable. You wake up at 4 a.m. From 4:30 till 6:30 a.m. you meditate in the hall or in your bedroom. You then have breakfast. That's from 6:30 till 8 a.m. Then there's group meditation in the hall from 8 till 9 a.m. That one is mandatory, you have to be there. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., you either meditate again in your bedroom or in the meditation hall. It is then lunch at 11 a.m. till midday. You can look through the rest of this picture yourself, but that is the last time you eat any actual real. They give you fruit at 5 p.m., and that is that for the day. Let's continue.
So remember before I said there's these words aversion, yearning, and attachment. Well, this was the first time that an aversion, I guess, was sparked in me. So it's the opening night. We've arrived. They've given us some really tasty soup and a couple of slices of toast. Yeah, it was nice. I enjoyed it. Um, so in the leaflet that they give you when you arrive, it says that this is not a rite or ritual based on blind faith. And I'm like, great, I love this. When we went into the first meditation, um, the teacher started chanting, and I was like, wait a minute, pause. I was like, okay, it's not a rites or ritual based on blind faith, but this is definitely blind trust because I don't know what this language is. I've then gone on and done my research and believe that it's Pali, um, and the language is one of the earliest languages of India at the time. Now, this is why it created aversion in me. In 2015, my journey so had it that I went on tour doing 12th Night by Filter Theatre for a month in India. And my experience of India was quite traumatic. They had us working, like working. We were hitting two cities a week, and we were traveling by plane, by train, by any means necessary. But that wasn't the traumatic part. In honesty, like as I went through my pictures for this episode, I realized that I had colored my experience with the negative parts I had to experience at the time. But I really loved the architecture. I really loved the art. I loved the people that I was working with. I loved the places we got to go. I loved the young people that we got to perform for. And I really loved our story. We got to do workshops and stuff with the young people as well. So there was that. But the main reason I was in distress was because the men, and I'm talking about, I can't just say it was one city, we were hitting two cities a week. The men would accost me relentlessly for sex. It's funny now, but at the time it was like really challenging and harrowing because, like I said, I love people. I love chatting to people. I love finding out about them. So I'd often engage in conversation or allow myself to be engaged in conversation under the illusion that they might share something quite special with me, only to ask. I was gonna use a direct quote. Fuck it, I'm gonna use a direct quote. There was a time I was on the beach, chilling, looking out at the water, thinking, "Wow, this is so stunning." And I was asked if, "Am I fucking?" And I thought, "Wait, what?" Um, so coming back from India really made me never want to ever experience anything like that again. And I attached a narrative to that it was India specifically. So now you get why my aversion popped up, why my back was up. And I'm sat in this meditation hall and it's the first night and I'm thinking already, let me pack my load and go. However, I was really excited to be there for the 10 days, the next coming days. the more I research meditation and the benefits of meditation, which I hope you also research, but let me run you through some right now. It helps you be more creative, helps you be more patient, makes you more self-aware, helps you really focus on the present, which is a very hard thing to do, especially when we're always encouraged to think about our past or try and create this idea of a future when nothing is ever, nobody knows what the future is going to be. It also helps you manage stress and all these other things that we know about meditation. I was super excited to do that for multiple hours a day. It's also free. They're not asking you for bread. They don't charge you. There's no charging. You're boarded, there's hot water, they feed you. It's really, I was like, okay, if this is the first and only hurdle that me have to deal with, in the sense of, okay, the only thing I have to be challenged by is the chanting in a language I don't understand, it's calm. I can forgive that. Hopefully they'll give me translations as it goes on. And also, I'm not a quitter. I love a challenge. I'm always like, watch, if you think I can't do something, watch me. Another challenge of this meditation retreat, this 10-day free, no devices meditation all day retreat, is that we had to honor noble silence. You had to be quiet, keep stum for 10 days. Was that completed by me? Well, I can sit here and chat to you guys for hours on a podcast episode. So, it's, yeah, well, we I did my thing. Yeah. There's that. But this is why I felt particularly challenged at times. Not necessarily by the practice. So let me get into the practice with you. So, come to find out via actually being at this retreat is that there are multiple meditation styles, practices. I didn't actually know that to begin with. And therefore, I thought this was going to be maybe a guided meditation or the type of meditations that I've already done, which are visual meditations where you think about light or you think about the word which means peace and all these other things. But no, it's not that. And I'm gonna try and explain the experience to y'all, but it's something that you kind of have to do in order to fully understand it. But meh, okay. But like I said, I don't know if I can recommend this to anybody. I don't know if I could actually open-heartedly say to anyone, go and do this for 10 days. So the practice is on the floor, you're seated on the floor. You can use a chair if need be because you're actually going to be in that position for a very long time. It starts off with just a breathing awareness. Like there are sections to, or a process, I should say, to this practice. And the practice starts off with just simple breathing, which I really enjoyed because he explained it as you're just aware of the reality, which is your breath. And you don't have to doctor it. You don't have to tell your breath that, oh no, I'm not breathing deep enough. I'm breathing too shallow. There's no judgment, actually. You're just present with it, which goes back to your awareness. And I was like, I love that. I can do this breathing thing for 10 days. Like what? But no, that is not it was a process. So that's where it started. You start with breathing, and it's hard to kind of find for me, it was hard to find what a comfortable position would be because we were sat on the floor. And yeah, they give you cushions, but I guess the cushions themselves I believe they're handmade actually by volunteers that have done the process before, or yeah, that are a part of this practice. There's another thing that I should flag is that you can't really engage with the process with this particular meditation practice unless you complete a 10-day course. You can't even donate. You're not allowed to not allowed is difficult language, but there is no way of you donating or meditating with this practice unless you complete a 10-day course. So you have to stay. You have to stay. So at first I was kind of it was challenging for me to find the comfortable areas because I was noticing that my body would either, get pins and needles, or it would go numb, or I was like, this pain is uncomfortable, I can't focus, this, that, and the other, what would have you. as the days went on, the teaching which they explain is that actually the process is supposed to um, ignite these kind of uncomfortable sensations within you. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. It's actually at some point in the process you realize, because they ask you to sit there for 2 hours and not and be still for 2 hours. Oh gosh. It's actually about having awareness of how the pain manifests in you. And that was another moment where I was like, what is going on? Because are we restricting blood flow to certain parts of our body? I genuinely thought, are my toes going to fall off? Like what's happening? And because the exploration around the practice was about fluidity and the process of change, that things, no matter what we want, what we yearn for, whatever we desire for, everything will change. It's always going to change. I found it challenging because I was like, but you're asking me to be still and think about fluidity. Isn't that like contradictory to what it is we're asking our body to do? However, there was a day that I had a bit of an epiphany. And this day is what made me decide to stay until the end. It was the 10th of June, which was a Monday, and it was a tempest outside. The weather was really beating on the building. The wind was slapping up this meditation hall. You could hear it. It was bare noise. And all I could think of at that time while I was trying to meditate and engage with the sensations that were in my body, they also teach you or encourage you. This was another part that I loved. They teach you and encourage you to detach from the mental part, the narrative part of pain. Because there's the physical sensation, yeah, oh, yeah, I got pain, pins and needles. But there's also a mental part, which me, I get really excited about the brain. Hopefully, you've listened to the other podcasts and you've not just come here to hear me chat about this particular meditation practice or where I disappeared to for 10 days. Um, I love that the fact that our minds can create this narrative. And as we're exploring the book Super Brain, we know that the living organism is literally just responding to what the mind tells it. So when this came up in the process of the meditation retreat slash course, I'm not even going to call it a retreat anymore. I'm going to call it a course because it was schooling. I was a student of life. I was being schooled in things. When this particular part came up in the course, it explained that we have a mental narrative of the pain, which is, oh, this hurts. Like, I can't cope. I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to survive. Whereas they encouraged us to detach from that narrative, which actually weakens your ability to sustain difficult, uncomfortable, discomforting situations by just observing it for what it is. I loved that, even though when I'm experiencing it, it's not a thing that you want to love. But being able to be inside of it and observing the pain without the mental narration, I found extremely powerful. Now let me get back to my story. It's tempest outside. The wind is blowing. Blow winds and crack your cheeks, them kind of thing. And all I can think of is that somebody's panties has flung up on the trees somewhere because we all had to hand wash our undies and stuff. They made us real. They made us really take it back to the ends. Take it back 100 years. I was just like, somebody's panties is definitely flinging and swelling and doing something outside. And I made myself giggle a little bit with that image. And even though I had been sat down for a very long time and I definitely lost all feeling in my butt cheeks, I still found pleasure in the pain. And that made me go on this journey, this thought process of, I thought I'd give you a little break there because I was rapping. And this thought is actually quite a big thought. So I really wanted to make sure that I made it as clear as possible. So I started to really dive deep within. And all of these new words, not new words, words that have existed throughout time forever, started to throw up in my mind. Like they started to come up in my mind's eye. And all of these words involved the word in, like it's in some capacity. There was in the word. Self-discipline, genuine, inspiration, kindness. I mean, that doesn't actually sound like it, but kindness, begin, incline. I'm determined, determination, incredible, innovation, integrity, insight. All of these words started to become alive in me. And I was like, I think or feel in this moment where I was in this meditation realm where, you had to be still for all this time and my butt cheeks had run off and I can't even remember what butt cheeks were at the time. I was like, if I, if there's a world in which we can be of service to self by observing and finding any opportunities to go inward and do the self work first, we're going to serve in ways that are like so transformative for each other. And it all goes in that. All of these words have in them. And I just became really like empowered. I was inspired. I was just like, wow. And this is one of the reasons why I was like, yes, I have to stay until the end, because had I packed my load and left as soon as I'd heard the chanting, I wouldn't have had this epiphany moment, it felt like, where I was like, to serve self is to honor each other. And that doesn't necessarily mean just serving the desires that we have, the outward desires, the rat race, need to get bread, the I want this feeling, let me get this feeling. I mean, really, like, because the way in which you cultivate a space of fertile ground is also self-discipline, right? Telling yourself that, okay, enjoyment, yeah, but enjoyment. But also enjoyment comes in the self-discipline. There was a lot of feelings that I had in the time, and I was just like, that particular day I remember, because it was a tempest outside, and I was like, had I not been here, what, I wonder where or what I would be feeling. But what I'm feeling is that all of the capacities, all of the things in which we seek externally are always alive with us internally. And I think that's something that I say in one of the episodes for Super Brain quite early on, where it's like we constantly seek these external desires to satisfy this need to feel safe, feel good, feel present, feel all of these different sensations, when looking inwards, going inwards, loving inwards manifests that regardless. And I was like, this is dope. This meditation is dope. I was like, yeah, boy, I'm down. I love this for them. I love this for me. I love this for us. Until we came out of the session, and I tried to get my butt cheeks to come back alive, and they just refused. And in that moment, it was like my eyes did that zoom thing, where they vroom, vroom, and I just started to look around, and I'm just gonna say it. Everybody that works at this place, or everybody that serves at this place have no glutes. There's no butt cheeks. There's no bunda. There's no yanj. There's no badoink doink. there was there was nothing. And I'm sorry, but no. Me and the way my thing is set up, like my body structure, I'm not top heavy, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I love mine. But when it comes to the bunda, I'm definitely not losing my butt cheeks. That is something that I need to do for self. So I'm looking around and I'm thinking, ain't one person got butt cheeks. But actually, let me be honest, there are scientific reasons as to why glutes are important. They're a massive muscle of the body, and they help you with your posture, they help you with your core, they help you with all of these things that even if you meditate 10 hours a day and you feel absolutely blissful and balanced on the inside, if the wind blow you half and you fall off and you can't have no butt cheeks to save you, it's going to be curtains. Sorry, I'm rapping. Now I know, listen, this meditation retreat is not the place for you to go and look for butt cheeks. That's a very cheeky thing to do. Bum intended. But it was a concern for me. I was concerned. There was a day in the retreat, in the course, where we're taught about our attachments. One thing that I knew, I was like, I am not detaching from my desire to have ass. So actually, let's go into the attachments part of the course, which I really enjoyed, and I felt like it alleviated in that moment a lot of thought patterns, a lot of feelings that I had ultimately made myself suffer. So they kind through the so every evening there is a time that call discourse. Now this is going to come across as a flaw for me, but I'm just going to say, because I think, like I said before, language is very, very important to me in the way in which we use it. And these are hour-long videos of the teacher explaining what I felt like it was he was telling stories. He was a storyteller, telling stories to support his point as to why this particular meditation practice is the best for all. And he'd say it was like it's a universal practice, which challenged me because I was like, well, each experience is unique. So how can it be universal? Like I said before, the only thing that's really universal is that we all have hearts. But then what about pacemakers? I know I've covered that already. But in this discourse, remember, it's a silent retreat, so it's not discourse. I was like, this is a lecture, and if you tell me it's discourse, then you're already using misleading language, which actually goes against one of the 5 rules. They were called shilas, that we all had to agree to while we stayed on this course, which is one of the shilas was speak no untruthful words, like don't lie, basically. And I was like, well, the language is misleading, but it's fine. I really enjoyed the discourses because he was a storyteller, and it really, I just loved the way he told stories.
Whenever any negativity arises, a passion arises, don't suppress and don't give it a free license to express itself at the vocal level or the physical level. Similarly, fear arises, anger arises, hatred arises, worry arises. Don't suppress it and don't don't express it at the vocal level. They gave a middle path. Observe it. Anger is a reason. Observe it. Passion is a reason. Observe it. As you observe, you are not suppressing it. As you are just observing objectively, you are not expressing it. Just observing, and you find it becomes weaker, 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 and passes away. It has not become a problem. Your problem is solved because you are observing it. Very good solution, but very difficult to practice.
There was a couple that
Very
challenged me, and I was like, no. But whenever those feelings would arise, I'd be like, okay, maybe it's just an aversion that is manifesting itself in me, because I'm also a storyteller. Now, one of the discourses which I really loved, or at least it sparked these thoughts in me, was about attachments. It alleviated feelings and thoughts that I've had around wanting certain things. Like I already told you, I'm not detaching from Bunda, but the hope of X, or the hope of Y, or the aversion to X, Z, Y, whatever, like the thought pattern of, oh, I need to get bread, I need to get bread. Whereas the actual outcome of getting a bag, getting money, a large amount of money, I don't know if you've listened to the money episode in the podcast, but here in the UK, if you make a certain amount of money, you're almost penalized for it unless you understand the ways in which you can save or receive, in their language, in the taxman's language, tax relief. Anyway, that's sorry, tangent. if you make over a certain amount of money and you're a self-employed person in the UK, you are paying up to 45% tax, which is half of your money, and it goes straight to the tax man, and there's absolutely nothing you could do about it unless you know all of these different ways to receive tax relief, like I explained in the money episode, but that's not why we're here. So he was talking about attachments to outcomes, attachment to things. Oh, and that leads on to me, mine, I narratives, which make you believe that your materialistic assets or the things that are already external outside of you are what make your identity. They're what we gather together to create a sense of identity, i.e., my house, my car, my kicks, my all of these different things. And in the talk he was explaining that this constant yearning, or this constant, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want these outcomes, cause us suffering, because you're never actually living in the present, number one, which is acknowledging the fact that you're alive. Wow. It's a miracle every day. But also, it doesn't give us the opportunity to really be in our bodies and feel the sensations that this practice wanted us to feel, which was, you know, sometimes it would manifest as a tingle, an itch, warmth, um, sweat, like all of these different things that the practice offers, by just being present and still for a certain amount of time, if not a very long time, to recognize that these things are happening within you. So I really dug that, actually. I was like, I love this thought process around detachment to things that kind of make you suffer in that sense. However, they keep in the course, in the talks, he kept reinforcing the idea that this practice was to go to not the basic level of subconsciousness, but to go to the real root of the mind. Which, for me, as someone who is really interested in neuroscience and the way that the mind relates to the brain, and the brain being a living organism which is independent of the mind, but actually is the chemical, electrical, um, uh, you know, I mean, for all of the books I read, I should know what words to say. Where the brain is basically what makes things happen, but the mind is where these ideas and stuff come from. I was like, oh, going deeper and deeper into these levels of the mind, in which the teacher explained is where our misery exists. It's where we've created misery and why we manifest miserable lives. This is his word. I was like, I don't personally, I don't actually feel miserable. I feel my feelings at times. Like, there are certain things that do make me feel sad. Like, let's not even, but miserable, I wouldn't say that I feel miserable. Even though when I was walking around the course, sometimes I'd be looking at people that serve there and be like, guys, you actually do look miserable, and you've been doing this course for how long? I don't understand what that part of the experience was, because everyone did not smile for ages until the last day. And then all of a sudden it was like smiles and teeth and stuff. And I was like, huh? Why y'all got to look so miserable the whole 9 days? And then now 10th day, because we can talk to each other, everyone's smiling. I'm talking specifically about the people that served there, yeah. Um, Not necessarily about my co-meditators, because I think we were all like, well, majority of us anyway. I don't know. I don't know what, because we weren't allowed to talk to each other. I don't know how many of us were like, this is jokes, or how many of us were like, this is bullshit. How many of us was like, what is happening here? But yeah, I was talking about our attachments are born from the root of the mind. And in my thinking, I was like, you know, I can look at a tree and not be able to comprehend how deep those roots go, how, wide those roots go, actually, and where they might go. But I can honor the mystery in that. And I feel like that is what I prefer to do, instead of having this yearning. I went in and asked the assistant teacher one day. We were allowed to ask questions. I went in and asked him. I was like, but isn't this desire to, isn't it a yearning to seek ultimate happiness, or to remove the defilements of the root of our consciousness? And isn't that also a yearning or an attachment to something else that is other than what is present, what is being exists, what we're living in, what we exist in. So I don't know. I was kind of a bit like, I love the idea around attachments and detaching and being able to free yourself from your own misery, and heaven and hell being internal as opposed to this external. I got to live my life in a moral way to make sure that I don't burn in hellfire. Whereas by thinking certain thoughts or believing certain things about yourself, or not giving yourself the time and space to breathe and feel and work through your emotions when they arise, is actually burning. You're burning yourself, cooking yourself in your own hellfire. I almost was like, I don't know if I need to go to the root of my mind. That's where the mystery is. I can explore all of the options of me learning more about myself, evolving, healing. Or maybe I'm just a scaredy cat. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I don't want to go there because who knows what's in the root. But it definitely was an interesting ride. Like, there was a lot. There was a lot that happened in that place. My knees, my hips. At one point, I could not believe it. The whole left side of my face was numb, and I thought, I'm definitely having a stroke. But I'm in the meditation, so let me power through. Those different things, because I feel like our bodies are also in dialogue with us. I think it's important to listen to our body when it tells us these things. It's how you know when there's something like disaligned, if there's, oh, that don't feel right, that might be my body telling me something. Whereas this practice, it kind of encourages you to sit in the things not feeling right. And in that sense, I understand if you can survive or make it through those 10 days of some real uncomfortable thoughts, um, physical sensations, you know, feeling hungry, waking up early, really, really early. I mean, I don't mind it. I really loved the waking up early and going to bed early. It reminded me of the process of getting a tattoo. You lie there, you feel the needle going into your skin, but there's a joy in it because you know something beautiful is going to come out on the other side. You not only endure it, you welcome it in a way. I think that's part of what the practice has to offer. It's like getting a tattoo on your soul or on your inside. There was this one day, it was another day where it was storming outside, rain, heavy, cold, in the middle of June, all of this stuff. And I went into the food hall in the dining room, and they had the slices of toast out. So I thought, oh, maybe we're getting the soup again that they gave us on arrival, that nice lentil soup that they gave us on arrival. I opened the container and it was baked beans. They gave us baked beans on toast for lunch. I think they brought out spuds after, but I had already taken my food. And I can't lie, I laughed. I was like, this is hilarious. Only because that meditation room was going to be, I was like, it's going to be a stink box. People are going to be too in left, right, and center. And I didn't think the ventilation was very great in there because people were getting sick, and I don't play with stuff like that. But I opened that container and I just was like, even in these moments where really I could take this and be like, nah, bruv, I'm not eating no beans on toast for lunch. I found joy. There was joy there. This experience actually did offer me the opportunity to see that there is joy in every single thing. Part of the practice was also about balancing the mind. When you're existing in the pain by sitting still for as long as you're sitting still for, they explain, teach, and encourage us to not, like I said before, narrate the pain, but whereas keep your mind balanced. Do not yearn for the pain. Do not be angry at the pain. Do not be angry at yourself for having pain, but keeping a balanced mind in the situation, breathing through it, observing it. And I was like, this is actually really great for life, because something might happen where most things happen in life where you're like, oh, man, I want this, I don't want this. or I do want this, I don't know. But we attach narratives, we attach feelings, thoughts, we attach all these different outside, external hopes of different outcomes or disappointments. And it actually, like with what I did in the experience that I had in India, it colors it in a way that makes it harder to move through or move on from. So keeping a balanced mind. It was a ride, let me tell you that for sure. There were times I go for walks in the garden and I'd see black ladybirds with red dots, or those Bambi type deers and pheasants, or I saw sap coming out of plants that I thought was people spitting on them, but it's not. Plants create sap. My friend told me it's aphids bringing out the sap. I don't understand, but I saw things. I saw the most gorgeous things because I gave myself space and time. I wonder what is universal, and I think evolution is universal. Evolution, going on a journey for we must evolve no matter what, even with the time as we're moving into of artificial intelligence being so prevalent in our lives. A lot of people are, I think, afraid. They want to hold back, they don't want to be a part of that, but I'm like, well, this is a part of our evolution, and if we don't engage with it, we're going to color it with whatever thought, feeling, narrative that either is going to make us averse to it or yearn for it. Whereas we can just observe it. Where is this going to go? You know? So, yeah, thank you for listening. Listen, like I said, I would not recommend, but I would challenge. I would challenge you to go. I would challenge you to apply and be accepted. It's not a straight up process. It's not something where you just rock up to. You got to answer a questionnaire online. You got to join waiting lists and what have you, because a lot of people are doing it. I'll put the website information in the description box. I'll also put that website from the one that I did like 6 years ago in the description box, and perhaps attach some videos of the actual technique, because I don't suggest people jumping in like I did with eyes closed and not knowing, because you will be surprised. So to close, I just wanted to leave you with this quote from Superbrain, the book that I love so much. All the beneficial choices you make are ways to evolve your brain. Since people's choices create new neural pathways and synapses, along with new brain cells, human beings undergo a second kind of evolution that rests upon personal choice. Driven by what you want out of life, your personal growth works by reshaping your brain. If you choose to grow and develop, you are guiding your own evolution.